Sometimes we find ourselves running without pause, without breath, without asking why. We chase after goals we didn't choose, compete in races we never signed up for, and exhaust ourselves in battles that bring no peace. The world tells us, keep going, don't stop, win at any cost. But what if true strength is not in finishing the race, but in stepping off the track entirely? Sometimes, the bravest choice is not to run faster, but to walk away. To quit the race is not to surrender. It is to reclaim the direction of your own steps. When we are young, life seems like an open field with endless possibilities. We take our first steps into the world with curiosity, believing that every path is ours to explore. But slowly, without noticing, that open field becomes a narrow track. The world begins to hand us rules, expectations, and measurements for success. We are told what is valuable, what is worthy, what is respectable. We are encouraged to keep moving forward, but not just anywhere, always in the same direction as everyone else. The track becomes crowded. The pace quickens. We start to run, not because we feel the joy of movement, but because we are afraid of falling behind. We forget that there was once a time when we moved freely, without comparison or competition, simply because we loved the journey itself. As we run, we learn to carry the weight of other people's expectations. They may not even be spoken, but they are heavy nonetheless. The belief that we must always achieve more, accumulate more, become more, begins to shape our thoughts. We measure ourselves not by our own growth, but by the distance between us and the person ahead. In the process, our inner compass grows quiet. The more we listen to the noise around us, the less we hear the voice within. Yet that voice, however faint, still asks a simple question: why are you running? For many, this question never comes to the surface. The momentum is too strong, the race feels too important to question. But for some, there comes a moment of pause, often born out of exhaustion or disappointment, when the mind slows down enough to realize something is not right. The body keeps running, but the heart is no longer in step. The scenery no longer inspires. The track feels endless, and we begin to understand that we are running not towards something, but away from ourselves. The race can take many forms. For some, it is the pursuit of wealth, the endless climb toward material security. For others, it is the chase for recognition, the constant need to be seen, praised, or validated. For others still, it is the quiet competition of living a life that appears perfect to others while feeling hollow inside. Regardless of its form, the nature of the race is the same. It demands energy, time, and attention, and it offers no guarantee of fulfillment. The finish line is always further ahead, moving away as we approach it. It is in moments of stillness that we can see this clearly. When we stop for even a short while, the illusion begins to break apart. We see that the race is not life itself, it is only one way of living. We see that stepping aside is not the same as giving up. It is simply choosing another path, one where our value is not determined by speed, position, or comparison, but by alignment with our true self. But stepping aside is not easy. It goes against the rhythm of the crowd. It invites questions, judgments, and doubts, not only from others, but from our own conditioned mind. We are taught to believe that quitting is weakness, that it is proof of failure. But there is a difference between giving up because something is too hard, and letting go because something is not right for us. Quitting the race is not an escape. It is a conscious decision to stop investing energy into a direction that drains us. It requires courage to face the silence that follows. It requires patience to walk slowly when others are sprinting. And it requires trust that our worth is not diminished simply because we are no longer playing the same game. In the stillness after stepping away, something shifts. The noise fades. The pressure lifts. The heart begins to speak again, reminding us of what we once loved before we were told what to love. We start noticing the small details along the path, things invisible to the eyes that are always fixed on the finish line. We begin to measure life not in victories or achievements, but in moments of authenticity, connection, and peace. And slowly, we realize that the race we left behind was never truly ours to run. There is a subtle but powerful difference between moving forward with intention and being pulled forward by momentum. Momentum can feel like progress because it keeps us in motion, but it is blind to direction. It does not ask if the path is ours, it only pushes us to keep going. Many people confuse this constant movement with purpose, when in reality, it can be the very thing that takes them further away from themselves. We tell ourselves, just keep moving, because slowing down feels dangerous. It forces us to face the possibility that the direction we are heading may not be the right one. But the truth is, the speed of our steps means nothing if they are leading us toward a place we do not belong. In life, we inherit many definitions of success from the world around us. These definitions are often shaped by culture, family, and society, and rarely questioned. We are told that success means reaching certain milestones, earning a certain amount of money, holding a certain title, owning certain possessions, gaining the approval of others. And so we run toward these markers without stopping to ask if they align with our inner values. In the process, we learn to prioritize the appearance of success over the experience of fulfillment. We move quickly, but without a map that truly belongs to us. The danger in never stopping to reflect is that we can spend years, even decades, climbing a ladder only to discover it was leaning against the wrong wall. The higher we climb, the more invested we feel in continuing, because the idea of turning back seems unbearable. We convince ourselves that the sacrifices we've made must mean we are on the right path. But sometimes, those sacrifices are just signs that we've been investing energy into a life that isn't ours. It is not the number of years we have given to something that determines its value. It is whether it has brought us closer to the person we are meant to be. To step away from the race, we must first recognize that the race exists. This awareness does not come through more running. It comes through stopping. Stopping is difficult in a world that celebrates constant activity. We are conditioned to feel guilt when we are still, as if stillness is laziness. But stillness is not the absence of progress. It is the foundation of clarity. It is in stillness that we can hear the quiet voice that has been drowned out by the noise of movement. It is in stillness that we can ask the questions that truly matter. Who am I running for? What am I trying to prove? And at what cost? Once these questions arise, the path we are on begins to look different. The shine of external rewards starts to fade, revealing the emptiness beneath them. We begin to notice the toll the race has taken on our health, our relationships, our peace of mind. We start to see that the moments of genuine joy in our lives are not the result of winning, but of being present. And when this realization takes root, something begins to shift inside. We start to feel a pull, not toward the finish line, but toward the exit. This pull can be both liberating and terrifying. It calls us to step away from what we know, to walk into uncertainty without the safety of familiar measures of success. It asks us to trust that there is life outside the race, even if we cannot yet see it clearly. This trust is not built overnight. It comes from listening to ourselves, honoring the discomfort of misalignment, and daring to believe that our worth does not depend on how well we compete. Quitting the race is not the same as abandoning our dreams. In fact, it is often the first step toward finding them. When we leave behind the expectations that do not belong to us, we create space for our own vision to emerge. We start to realize that life is not about proving ourselves to others, but about living in a way that is true to who we are. This truth does not shout, it whispers. It does not push us forward, it invites us inward. And as we move in this new direction, we begin to discover a different kind of progress, one that is measured not by speed or competition, but by alignment and authenticity. When we finally step away from the race, the first thing we encounter is not instant peace, but silence. It is an unfamiliar quiet that can feel uncomfortable because we have been surrounded by noise for so long. The noise of comparison, the noise of urgency, the noise of constant striving. All of it had become a part of our identity. Without it, there is an emptiness, and this emptiness can feel like loss. But in reality, it is space. Space that was always there, hidden beneath the constant movement, now uncovered. This space is where the process of returning to ourselves begins. In this space, we may feel disoriented at first. We have been so used to measuring our worth through progress and productivity that slowing down feels unnatural. Our mind, conditioned by years of competition, may still urge us to find another race, another goal to chase, simply to fill the void. It will try to convince us that, without running, we are standing still, and that standing still means falling behind. This is the old language of the race, echoing in our thoughts. It takes time to unlearn it. It takes patience to allow ourselves to be present without rushing toward a new finish line. As the days pass, the silence becomes less threatening and more comforting. We begin to notice things that were once invisible. The texture of the air in the morning, the way light moves through a room, the subtle expressions on the faces of people we love. Our senses become sharper, not because the world has changed, but because we are no longer speeding past it. The present moment begins to feel full again, not because we have filled it with tasks or accomplishments, but because we are truly inhabiting it. This shift is not about abandoning all ambition. It is about learning the difference between ambition that comes from fear and ambition that comes from authenticity. Fear-driven ambition is fueled by the need to prove ourselves, to avoid judgment, to keep pace with others. Authentic ambition grows from the desire to create, to contribute, to express the truth within us. The first drains us no matter how much we achieve, while the second energizes us, even when the results are slow to appear. When we step away from the race, we give ourselves the chance to discover which kind of ambition truly belongs to us. The world around us may not understand this choice. People who are still in the race may see our slower pace as weakness or lack of discipline. They may question our decisions, not out of malice, but because our choice forces them to reflect on their own path. This is why stepping away requires quiet strength. It is not a strength that shouts or defends itself loudly. It is the strength of knowing that our journey is ours alone. We do not need permission to choose a life that feels aligned. We do not need validation to walk a different road. In this new space, we also begin to meet ourselves again. We rediscover passions we had set aside, conversations we had been too busy to have, dreams we had once labeled as impractical. We start to see how much of our identity had been shaped by the race, and how much more there is to us beyond it. The pace of life becomes something we choose, not something imposed upon us. We learn to move not because we are being chased, but because we are being called, and slowly, almost without realizing it, we begin to feel whole again. Not because we have reached some final destination, but because we have remembered that life is not a competition to be won, but an experience to be lived fully. When we allow ourselves to step away from the race and live at a pace that feels natural, we begin to see that life is not a straight path leading to a single destination. It is a landscape filled with crossroads, open fields, and hidden trails. The race had trained us to focus only on the track beneath our feet, to see only the next milestone ahead. But when that tunnel vision fades, our vision widens. We notice the many directions available to us, and we understand that movement in life does not have to be linear. It can be circular, it can be meandering, it can even be still for long stretches of time. Each form of movement has its own wisdom, and none is more valid than another. Living outside the race allows us to choose our steps more consciously. Instead of running toward what others have declared valuable, we can ask ourselves, what truly matters to me? This question is deceptively simple, yet it is one that the race rarely allows us to ask. It is a question that demands honesty, and honesty can be uncomfortable. We might discover that some of the things we have been chasing hold no real meaning for us. We might realize that our deepest needs are not met by accumulation or recognition, but by presence, connection, and purpose. The absence of constant competition also changes the way we relate to others. In the race, everyone can become a rival, someone ahead to surpass, or someone behind to stay ahead of. Outside the race, there is no hierarchy of progress. We see others not as competitors, but as fellow travelers, each on their own path, each carrying their own lessons. This shift opens the door to genuine connection, because we are no longer evaluating people through the lens of comparison. We can appreciate their journey without feeling the need to measure it against our own. There is also a deeper kind of freedom that emerges, freedom from the constant need to prove our worth. The race feeds on validation, and when we step away, we begin to see that worth is not something earned through performance, it is something inherent. This realization is both empowering and humbling. It allows us to rest without guilt, to pursue dreams without fear of failure, and to accept ourselves without conditions. We stop living for the approval of the crowd and start living in alignment with our own truth. This way of living requires trust that the path will unfold in its own time, trust that we do not need to see the entire journey to take the next step, trust that even when we feel uncertain, we are still moving towards something meaningful. The race taught us to control every outcome, to predict and to plan endlessly. But life beyond the race invites us to participate with openness, to allow space for the unexpected, to see beauty in what is unplanned. In this space, the measure of a good day is no longer how much we have achieved, but how deeply we have lived. The value of our life is no longer determined by trophies or titles, but by the moments that made us feel alive, the people who shared our journey, and the peace we carried within. We begin to understand that quitting the race was never about stepping away from life. It was about stepping into it fully, without the constant distraction of competition pulling us away from the present moment. When we quit the race, we do not lose. We return. We return to the pace that allows us to breathe, to the clarity that allows us to see, and to the presence that allows us to live. We stop running toward destinations that were never ours and begin walking paths that feel true beneath our feet. We let go of the pressure to be faster, better, stronger than someone else, and instead focus on being whole within ourselves. The finish line we once chased becomes irrelevant, because we understand now that the journey itself is the destination. And in this understanding, we find a kind of victory that no competition can offer. The quiet victory of living in alignment with our own heart.